Welcome to the Missouri Instructional Leaders Network. My name is Valerie Montgomery. I'm one of the hosts here, and we are bringing together Missouri instructional leaders to share their experiences, grow professional relationships, and build curriculum and instruction skills. And this morning we have a special guest with us. This is Diane Mora. She is the Program and Education Director of Kids Feeding Kids. Good morning, Diane.
Good morning, Valerie.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm going to let you share your screen and tell us a little bit more about Kids Feeding Kids and how our school districts can get involved with you guys.
Wonderful. So bear with me here a moment. We all, I think, have those moments with technology, right? Where you have it stand out and then it doesn't. Kind of like right now.
That's okay, because the beauty of technology is I can always
Wonderful. I think I'm there.
You are.
Wonderful. Well, good morning, everyone who is going to be viewing this later. I'm really delighted to be here to talk about Kids Feeding Kids and how our real world learning project enables classrooms to help students learn to serve and serve to learn. So it's a real world learning project that also encompasses community service within your community. And these are just, some photos from classrooms that we've worked with over the years. I'm just curious, I think in order to think about feeding people in our community, we kind of need to know how many people in Missouri experience chronic hunger. And so the numbers at the left of your screen represent an opportunity for you to just sort of reflect on which of those numbers you think might be true. And unfortunately, the reality is, if you've made your decision, is that we have about 809,000 people, so almost 1 million people, go to bed hungry or experience food insecurity in such a way that they don't know where their next meal is coming from. And Missouri's total population is about 6 million, so roughly 14% of our population experiences this. And to really ground myself, I often try to imagine that in a room of, let's say, 24 students, that means that potentially at least 3 of them are experiencing this at home. So that's a pretty sobering number. But we are delighted with Kids Feeding Kids that we offer an opportunity for other students and the entire school, if they wish, to get involved with helping relieve that situation. So in the next 15-ish minutes or so, I'll give you a little bit more background about the Kids Feeding Kids projects. I'll give you a very high level overview of the learning framework and show you some classroom examples. We'll talk very briefly, touch on the basics of planning, organizing, and hosting. And then, if you do have questions to ask, I'll be sure to post how you can contact me at the end. So our objective in the next 15 minutes is to identify ways your participation in a Kids Feeding Kids real world learning project aligns with your units of study and supports student learning objectives while serving your local community. Pete's Garden is the main organization. Kids Feeding Kids is a program under Pete's Garden. We share the same vision, which is to enable more families to experience the benefits of regularly sharing healthy meals together. We just approach the work differently. And I won't go into the details, but except to say that with Pete's Garden, we do this through food recovery of surplus food. But for Kids Feeding Kids, we actually provide relief through community service through actually cooking in the classrooms. So Kids Feeding Kids, bottom line, it's students cooking for their communities during school hours. So over the years, as we've been able to develop our programming, Kids Feeding Kids has been in school districts all over the metro area on both the Kansas and the Missouri side. We have had some programs who cook up to 1,000 meals and others who cook anywhere from 200 upwards. Our work has been funded by the Mahomes Foundation, and we're also very fortunate that a local food broker, Lucky International Trading, also supports with in-kind donations. Over the years, our number of meals that we've been able to get out into the community have steadily increased from 6,000 to 7, and I have a very lofty goal of 10,000 meals this year from classrooms all over the state of Missouri. And I hope that you'll be a school who decides to join us in that goal. The Kids Feeding Kids, the model itself is steeped in solid learning practices. And there are 3 major lesson objectives that have been integrated and that move students through a critical thinking model. So at its very base, initial level, I guess I should say, whether you're in a CTE classroom or a family consumer science classroom, one of the main objectives, of course, is that students will demonstrate their culinary skills, as well as adhering to food service industry standards for food safety and sanitation. It's not often that students are asked to, in a classroom level to prepare upwards of 200 servings. And so this gives them an insight into what it would be like, right, to be in a position as a caterer or a banquet manager, creating a large volume of food. Students are also asked to analyze the root causes of food insecurity. And through that, we evaluate local human services that facilitate the distribution of healthy family meals. And this is critical, as you'll see here in a moment, for both FACS and CTE classrooms. And then above all, we bring all of those things together, the culinary skills and the ideas about food insecurity, and we apply the principles of community service. And here is where we engage students in the preparation of those meals that then go to families in their community. Kids Feeding Kids, even though we have a solid framework, we are adaptable, right? Because not every classroom looks the same, has the same equipment, meets on the same bell schedule, and not every community has the same resources available in terms of distributing these meals. So as you're looking at your screen right now, you're probably beginning to notice that the 2 classrooms on the far left and far right have very different equipment available than the 2 classrooms in the center, which are CTE outfitted with commercial grade, industry grade cooking and refrigeration equipment. And on the opposite ends, you probably are noticing that our FACS classrooms most often have consumer equipment that they're working with. So all of these things really, right? This is why it has to be adaptable to how many servings can they provide, and do they have not only the equipment, but the classroom hours to produce. So we're really proud of the fact that we go into the classroom, we meet with the teacher, we help project plan, we do the site visit so everybody can be successful. The objectives themselves, I'm going to start with analyzing the root causes of food insecurity, because this seems to be an area where not only the students, I was a little nervous at first when I put this curriculum together thinking high schoolers are not going to really maybe be into this, but I've been very, very touched by how serious the students take this information. And teachers themselves, I hear so many times after the lessons, say to me, I never knew this. So if you are a FACS teacher, learning about food insecurity actually aligns very nicely with some of your competencies about analyzing community resources and systems of support available to families. And we do this by students and I work together through this framework here, where if I were talking to you live right now, I'd be asking you, how many of these numbers could you actually complete without Googling for them? And students and I work through this together to understand how it is that food insecurity, when someone experiences that, it is not a character flaw. It is not a result of a family not trying hard enough or whatever the media has typically portrayed. The root causes of food insecurity are disparities in the numbers that you're looking at right now on your screen. And so students and I analyze these together and talk about how it is that a minimum wage household, it is just not going to be possible to, no matter how hard they're working, to meet these living wage rates that we see in states and in counties and cities. And then again, we also still go further into that and talk about how federal poverty wage rate, sometimes people are not eligible for some of the federal or state benefits because they do meet these minimum wages. And so Kids Feeding Kids is a Band-Aid, something to help them through this when they fall through these cracks, but it is not a solution. And that the solution here is for some of our students to think about becoming advocates later in life, or to become politicians or economists who can help solve this problem. But for right now, it does mean that our kids can at least show empathy and feed people in our community. If you are a CTE teacher and you're thinking, well, I don't know about how, studying food insecurity would actually fit into my curriculum. Right now, you're looking at the ProStart Level 1 curriculum, where students need to identify the essentials of effective management and labor law knowledge. And if they are at any point going to be thinking about careers or even owning an establishment in the hospitality industry, they need to understand minimum wage and how paying people equitably can really support our communities overall. So there are a lot of connections in terms of analyzing these issues. Of course, demonstrating culinary skills, our students are going to be cooking. And so these competencies, there are hundreds, too many to list in FACS classrooms. And of course, with ProStart, we do see standards and objectives for food safety, as well as kitchen essentials, understanding things like standardized recipes, converting recipes from smaller to larger quantities, being able to calculate AP as well as EP amounts. So again, lots and lots of connections that are built in directly to the overall project. And then in terms of applying all of these principles and doing the cooking, students love this project. These are some quotes directly from some of the post-learning surveys that we ask students at the end of the project. And my personal favorite here is this one in the middle. It makes me happy that my schoolwork can actually do some good and not just go to waste. I don't know about you, but I don't hear high schoolers very often come home or even remark on their schoolwork and say, it made me happy to do my classwork today. So the proof is in the pudding, no pun intended, that students really gravitate toward this project. Educators as well really, really are appreciative of how this is all structured and the opportunities it provides for their students. I love this last quote from one of our educators who says, our main goal is to grow students who can identify what it means to do community service to others. Providing this experience enables all students to grow into caring adults. And I don't know, for me as an educator who's been in the classroom, isn't that really what we all want? Is we want learning to occur, but truly to send our students out into the world knowing and having that experience of wanting to care for their community. So I'm pretty proud of the work that we do with Kids Feeding Kids. Educators also, we have a wonderful retention rate. So this first graph that you see at the end of the school year, we asked educators how many of them would repeat doing another Kids Feeding Kids project. And even though this looks like 87%, it actually turned out to be 100% because the 12% that was on the fence, one later told me it was because they were retiring, and another one was changing school districts and really just, they wanted to do it, but weren't sure they could commit without knowing the lay of the land. So we consider that we have 100% retention. And to really prove that, this second graph that you see here, pie chart, is that we've had 62% of our classrooms repeat. So they've hosted at least 2 projects. And then we've had remarkably 12% who have hosted 3. And I can tell you, as someone who's been in the classroom, I don't do lessons again that don't work, right? And so we are really, again, really pleased that educators want to do these projects every year with their students. So what we provide for classrooms and educators and communities is really very unique because our services are fully funded. We fund all of the ingredients for the menu that students are going to prepare. We're starting to develop more and more recipes that teachers can just log into, but we are open to knowing that some communities may have some special, some cultural distinctions that they may want to do a certain menu. But we provide the funding for the grocery, and we provide all of the packaging, so all of the to-go containers that everything is packaged in. We also provide an opportunity for students to engage with an industry professional. That would be me coming into the classroom, talking about multiple career paths within the hospitality industry. And the teacher has access to all the prepared learning materials. There's digitally formatted pre and post reflections that students answer. There's the lesson materials themselves for the students and the educators are all done in Google Drive, so it's easily transmitted. And then all of the qualitative data that I collect about student learning outcomes, I always make that available to teachers as well, so that it makes it very easy for them to award participation points if they choose for students at the end of the project. And then throughout the project, from the moment a teacher calls me to inquire, to say, hey, I'm curious about how this could work in my classroom, from that moment until that last student response comes in from the surveys, I am there the whole step of the way, helping them plan and execute. So they don't feel that it's just something that's been handed to them and they are waiting around trying to figure it out. Typically what that looks like is, it does take some planning. And this image that you're looking at here really is just trying to communicate to you that the reason there is so much planning on the front end that I help with is because we want it to be a smooth week, the week that you're actually cooking, doing the lessons, and getting the information out. And I've had the luxury of being able to do this, now probably 25, 30 times in different classrooms, so I can help the teachers plan so that it does go smoothly. So I think that, for me, the greatest joy about all of this is, I think back to my days in culinary school and being an apprentice, and, to immerse yourself directly in what you're learning is just priceless. And so when I think about involving students in this way, both with food, with community service, and with learning about and connecting how it is that folks who are receiving these meals, how they are, how it is that they've come to find themselves in this situation, it just really, it involves the student holistically throughout the process. So I think that has just been like a super quick way of describing it, but I do think we met our objective to identify, hopefully you've been able to identify ways that you could participate in a Kids Feeding Kids real world learning project and feel confident that it will align with your units of study, and that in the end of the day, you're going to support your local community with some great meals. So there's my, you see my email address, you see my phone number. You can definitely text and say, hey, I want to set up a phone call. And I would love to hear from you and answer any questions. So Valerie, that's that's
Thank
it.
you so much for sharing. That's a really intriguing program. You know, you mentioned how you like immersing into that curriculum, and that activity is so engaging. And I think about I have small children. Like I think about you know, how engrossed a toddler is in helping to cook, but I don't think that ever really changes. Like it's very engaging to be in the kitchen, but that's just one layer. This curriculum really hits on community service and social issues, nutrition and health and sustainability. So there's so much to this that it's all of these things are very important life skills, you know, knowing how to cook, knowing how to feed your community. So and also I can tell that you guys are educators by the way that you have these objectives, you're tied to standards, and the way that you said you can customize to fit bill schedules, because we know that can be a real challenge. So yeah, this is great. I'm excited to share this with our network. And specifically, I know of a couple family and consumer sciences teachers who I'll be sending this to. So thank you so much. And I will be sure to link your contact information when I post the video.
Great. And then I also, you'll also post a PDF so that folks can, they can find out, you know, if they weren't able to take notes, they'll have all the information there too. So thank you again for letting us share about the work that we're doing, and I'll look forward to hearing from people.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.